my fellow Americans, Congress, members of the United States Supreme Court, my family, and my friends. I would first like to thank the leadership of both houses for inviting this average American Joe the opportunity to speak with you today. I would also like to thank the Vice President for coming to this speech and thank the members of both chambers for attending today. The reason I am here today is because we have heard from the President about the state of our union. We also heard from members of the Republican Party in response to that State of the Union address. And now, average Americans have sent me, a registered nurse from a small town in southern New Jersey, to give you, the average American's response to that very State of the Union address for the very first time in history. So let me begin with the words that were not spoken by the President in his speech, the actual state of our union. My fellow Americans, the state of our union is in disarray. It is utterly being destroyed by the very stench and greed of the politicians who sit before me today in this very chamber. And as an average American, I must tell you I'm absolutely disgusted with not only the partisanship of this body, but also your personal lust for power, money, and fame you so seek to enrich yourselves, your political parties, and your corporate donors. Americans are deeply offended to have to call you the leaders of our great land. In fact, what does it say to this very body that an astounding 88% of all Americans disapprove of the job you are doing? Think about that for a second. A whopping 88%. And moreover, what does it say to you that Americans time and again, that when it comes time for the vote, have to continually ask themselves which of the lesser two evils they should vote for? Don't you understand why you are here? You are not here to enrich yourselves and your political parties. You are here to protect America. You are here to protect us from foreign and domestic threat. You are here to pass laws to govern the land, but you are not here to solely protect your jobs, power, and money. And as Americans, it's high time we started achieving America's business in a unified way. It's time we wiped away our fears and irrationalities of one another to finally get the job done for all Americans, solely as Americans first. With that said, let me share with you the message average Americans sent me here today to tell you. A simple American dream, if you will. Americans have a dream where we are blind to our political divisions, our races, creeds, and colors. We share a dream where Americans are not divided into classes such as red and blue states, Democrat or Republican, liberal or conservative, and rich or poor. Rather, that we are all Americans first. We dream of a land where all peoples are given an opportunity to enrich themselves, work hard, leaving a good name and reputation behind. We have a dream where there is a job for all Americans, a dream where our leaders act in the sole interest of their fellow Americans, a dream where the action speaks louder than the word, and a dream that our leaders would run this nation in a manner in which all Americans can be proud of this very body that governs them. In fact, most Americans share the same dream. The dream of a good job, of owning a nice home and car. A dream where we could all have a retirement account. A dream where we could all follow our own paths in life, believing in whatever God we wish to believe in, and a dream of truly not burdening the generations to come. But that dream is being shattered before our very eyes. A dream that once shared by every American is a dream that not only seems unachievable today, but one that is being taken from them by the very body that sits before me today. You know, Americans are not stupid people. In fact, Americans are very smart. They see that you are dividing this nation with your politics. They see that this body is one whose sole interest is for your political party to gain power, to control the flow of money to your base, and most importantly, to enrich yourselves in the process. In fact, when the President commanded both chambers, did all of you do anything that was right and just for the American people? Did Americans see deficit reductions? Did Americans see you fix Social Security, Medicare, and more? Did Americans see you pass laws and legislation that was good for all Americans? Of course not. What you did was pass laws that protected the status quo and your corporate donors. You passed laws that have no real chance of affecting change for the average American and their families. You pass laws that don't protect the American people from the elite who continue to waste away Americans' wealth with their tomfoolery. In fact, you rewarded them with trillions of dollars in taxpayer dollars. You rewarded them by allowing them to take the very homes Americans work so hard to attain. You rewarded them by allowing them to take the very tax dollars we gave them to enrich themselves with massive bonuses, stock options, and more. You allowed them to take Americans' hard-earned deposits and play roulette on the stock market with those funds, leading to the greatest reduction in America's wealth. My fellow Americans, enough. It is high time we ended the Reagan era of trickle-down economics, giving tax breaks to the wealthy in the hopes that they will hire more people, reducing unemployment in the process. In fact, the rich get the tax breaks in the hope that that money will somehow trickle down to the poor American folk who need it the most. Did that $1 trillion we gave to the banks trickle down to my fellow Americans? Of course not. It trickled right into the pockets of those corporate elite with whom you gave that money. And let me ask my fellow Americans, how's that trickle-down theory working out for you? Do you remember how they promised that trickle-down economics would be great for your children? Did you just get done spending $50,000 on your child's education for them not to be able to find a job? Did trickle-down economics provide millions of jobs for all Americans? Did it reduce our debt? Did it fix our trade imbalances? Did it give you the stability in your retirement accounts? Again, of course not. Members of this legislature, Americans sent me here to tell you that it is time we started working on the basis of the trickle-up theory, starting at the bottom of the ladders, taking people off of entitlements by offering them a real and viable chance to succeed. In fact, if we gave that $1 trillion of bailout money to those average Americans you say need it the most, offering a true and real pathway to success, providing education and training, readying a nation to accept some tens of millions of people into the workforce by creating new industries, becoming the producers of our own wares, would that not help America strengthen itself? Would having millions of people earning paychecks not help America's financial woes? Of course it would. It's time Americans return to an era of production and prosperity. It is through the trickle-up theory this can be done. It is through targeted changes in our tax code that this could be done. It is through government reduction that this can be done. It is through many ways that this can be done. But it can never be done when we have a people out of work on entitlements, losing their very homes and livelihoods they work so hard to achieve. And to my fellow Americans, let me say this. If I were President of the United States, this average American Joe would make it my mission to unify this House and the American people. I would bring together people of all races, creeds, and colors to ensure that this nation moves forward for the enrichment of every American. Not a single person who chooses would be left behind. And if this body chose to continue down its current path of divisiveness, then I would, as president, go directly to your own home districts and support those average Americans who would work in the sole interests of the American people. I would ensure none of you again are given an opportunity to sit in this chamber and corrupt it with your lust for power and money. I would make sure wave after wave of Americans are at your doorstep rallying against you until you are finally gone. It's time Americans came together. It's time we wiped away our fears and irrationalities of one another. It's time we came together solely as Americans first for the benefit of a great and lasting America. And I know you sitting in this chamber would say no president has the power to make such a great change. In fact, many of you think this body holds all the power and the president is a pawn to do the bidding of the party he or she represents. Well, let me share this message with you. I know the president does not have all the power. The American people do. And it is Americans who gifted you with such power, and it is Americans who will take it away from you as well. In fact, let me remind you of how our forefathers did give the president the power. They gave the president one very unique power that can not only put checks and balances back into the State House, but a power to lead all Americans into an era of peace and prosperity. Do you know what that power is? Can you define that power for me right now that would give the President of the United States the opportunity to override this legislature, seek members of this body who would work in the sole interest of all Americans, and return us to the greatest and most prosperous nation on earth? Well, that power is called the bully pulpit. That power is the gift God gave me and is called my voice. That power is my ability as president to lead the American people, just as Moses led the people through the desert to a great land to get to that final resting place. Just as Martin Luther King led the people into an era of equality for all Americans. Just as Abraham Lincoln led America through the greatest of trials to ensure all are treated justly and fairly. So trust me when I tell you that it can be done. Lead me to water I can actually taste, drink, cool and refresh myself with, and I'm sure the American people will follow this person. And if this average American Joe were president, then that's what I would do. I would use that bully pulpit to find the right people throughout this great land who would act in the sole interests of all Americans, not a political party, not a corporation or business, and certainly not for your own power and monetary gains. In fact, I would use that bully pulpit so harshly that those who would be on the right side of the American people would enjoy a great spotlight. But for those others who wish to continue to enrich themselves, continue to act for the status quo, I would ensure that light is so bright that it causes you blindness. And for those Americans who would say a president could never lead this house and America to greatness, I have a message for you too. You are the ones that hold the power. You are the ones who need to know that the snake oil salesman is at your door. And as Americans, you must say no to that snake oil salesman. It is we, the people, who can right this great ship of America. It is we, the people, who gave this body such power, and it is we, the people, who can surely take it away as well. Americans are tired of voting for the lesser of two evils. Americans are tired of the manipulation of the vote and voting districts for the benefit of one political party over another. Americans are tired of working 2 jobs to support their families, make a way for themselves, only to have to pay more and more for the failures of others. And if this average American Joe were president of the United States, trust me when I tell you that the American people would follow a great leader, a leader who they could actually trust, a leader whose actions speak louder than the words, a leader who cannot be bought and sold for a vote, a leader who would lead the people on a real and true path of peace and prosperity. One who, when he says, "I want to help the children of this world," really means it. My fellow Americans, we are truly at a precipice in this nation. We are either going to succeed or we are utterly going to fail. But make no mistake, it will be this very legislative body and president who fails America. And if I were president, I would use every power and political pulpit of the office of presidency to get that job done, once and for all Americans. Today is your day. Today that spotlight shines on you. Today you can make a choice to work together for the goodness of all Americans. You have been given the greatest gifts, the power to lead the American people. It's time Americans started walking the walk. It's time for Americans to once again stand up proudly to the world and say, yes, we are Americans. It's time for us to stop coddling our opinions to the world, and it's time for us again to be proud of this great nation. My fellow Americans, I have a dream. I have a dream where, again, we are blind to our political divisions, our races, creeds, and colors. I have a dream where there are not red and blue states. I have a dream that we all acted for the goodness of America and its entire people. I have a dream where we can proudly stand up to the world and say, I am an American. But remember, it is we, the people, who have to make that happen. It is only together as a single people that we will again make America the greatest nation of all time. The time is right, and the time is now. Follow the American people and myself into an era of peace, prosperity, and yes, production. Remember, it is up to you today to do the right things for the American people, Today it is your time to make history. Today it is your day to be the beacon of hope for all Americans. And if I were President of the United States, this average Joe would make sure not only would I have led my people to a great land, but I would make sure we actually had great water to drink when we got there. My fellow Americans, it is my hope and prayer to not just dream of these great things, but that these things were already occurring. It is my hope that with God's love and might that I showed you the greatest of dreams today, a dream that is shared by all Americans. A dream where common sense would rule the day, and a dream of an America that actually acts for the interests of every single American. Members of this Congress, this is the American dream. May God bless each and every American, and may God bless America. Thank you.